Welcome to the Atlas Cast for Building Your Business, presented by best-selling author, speaker, and sales and business growth consultant, Archer Atlas. And here's your host, Archer Atlas.
Welcome to episode 9 of the Atlas Cast for Building Your Business, hosted by me, Archer Atlas. Very quickly, if you'd like to get show notes, transcripts, and updates on when new shows are released, as well as 2 free gifts, my best-selling book, Build Your Business Without Breaking the Bank, and the audio program, Going Up, How to Generate More and Better Leads Quickly and Inexpensively. If you'd like to get all of that for free, simply go to www.theatlascast.com and subscribe. You'll get it all. The updates, the show notes, the transcripts, and the 2 free gifts. Build Your Business Without Breaking the Bank and Going Up, How to Generate More and Better Leads Quickly and Inexpensively. Just go to www.theatlascast.com and subscribe. Okay, welcome to episode 9 of the Atlas Cast. This episode, we're going to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about: handling objections. Right behind people asking me about sales scripts, this is the topic I get the most questions about: how to handle objections and overcome them. And you know, this is actually something that is pretty easy to do if you go into every conversation as you should, which is prepared. I actually have a nice and simple 3-step process for creating rebuttals to objections, and we'll cover it fully in this episode. Anyway, before we really get started talking about rebuttals and overcoming objections, I have one last quick announcement to make. I'm wrapping up the promotion on my latest video training course, Get More Customers and Clients Now. You can get it through the end of this week for only $7. That's it, $7. That's $92 off the going rate, which is still a complete steal at full price. Just go to www.theatlascast.com/offer. That's theatlascast.com/OFFER. It's really a phenomenal training program that really covers the ask approach and how to generate more, new, and better qualified leads from top to bottom. I'm extremely proud of it and know that it will benefit you greatly if you apply it. Anyway, it's 93% off from now through Friday the 12th. Actually, I'll extend it through the weekend, so it gives you some time if you're listening to this a little late. Get it for only $7 at theatlascast.com/offer. That's OFFER. Go get it today. You will not be let down. I guarantee it. All right, let's get busy on the matter at hand: handling and overcoming objections and creating rebuttals that can turn a no or maybe into a yes. I'll show you how to apply this rebuttal system in the ask approach, which is actually very easy to do, and how to apply it into any sales conversation, or really any conversation you have, both for business and life personally. First off, more important than anything is knowing that most objections are not real. Not real at all. If you can understand this and realize it, you're way ahead of the game and consequently ahead of most people trying to do what you will do. So most objections aren't real. You have to remember this and remember the situation you're in and the situation your prospect or client is in that you've put them in. If you call someone out of the blue, especially, but in other situations, like the ones where you're presenting or pitching, most likely it's you that wants to be there the most. Now, the prospect or client most likely has other things, more pressing things that are more important to him or her on their minds, and that's most times. Your goals are not running parallel. You want a sale, an appointment, or a lead, and they want to be done as quickly as possible or do something else. Most times. Sometimes you're in a situation where the prospect or client is super enthusiastic to buy or do what you want them to. Sometimes. And when you're in that kind of situation, life is good. Very good. But those times are few and far between. Much more likely, you're in a situation where you are an interrupter or an obstacle for the prospect or sometimes client. Their goal is to get rid of you. Your goal is to have them do what you want. And your major task here is getting them on the same page as you. And this is how we do it. Okay, getting back on track, most objections, especially the ones you hear first, and consequently the ones you'll hear most, are not real. The prospect doesn't mean them at all. So the last thing you ever want to do is make them real for the prospect. And there are two ways you can do this. One is by repeating the quote-unquote objection back to the prospect. Number two would be by addressing this phony objection at all. So the first one, repeating back the objection, is the absolute worst thing you can do. And this goes both for real and phony objections. Never do this. Never repeat the objection back. If it's a fake objection that the prospect doesn't really mean and is only saying to get you off the phone or end the conversation as quickly as possible, you just made it real and given it some credibility by repeating it. If it is real or more of a real objection, you've just given it legitimacy by repeating it. You've helped the prospect or client solidify this reason not to buy, not to set an appointment, or not to do what you want him or her to do in their minds. That position is solidified by your repeating it. You've made it a legitimate reason to say no. Now you can come back from this, but it doesn't make sense to put yourself in this position in the first place when this is 100% in your control and it's very easy not to do this in the first place. We'll get into exactly what to say in a second, but first, I want to make one more point about this. This whole do not repeat the prospect or client rule, and yes, I'd go as far as to call this an ironclad rule. This rule doesn't just go for objections and negative responses. It also goes for positive ones. Never repeat the prospect or client. Unless, of course, you already have agreement and or you want to clarify the prospect or client's position. This is why it's very, very important to listen closely to what the prospect or client is saying. Repeat the prospect only if you want to clarify what is said, hopefully after you've gotten agreement on their part. Try your best to never repeat what was said because you didn't catch it yourself. You know, there's an old saying that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So you should listen twice as much as you speak. I don't know if I'd fully subscribe to that. Actually, I don't. You're probably going to be doing a lot more speaking than listening. But this makes the point all the more powerful. If you're doing more talking than listening, then you should absolutely be giving 100% of your attention to what you're listening to at all times. Okay, let me just give one quick example of what I'm talking about here, about not repeating even positive answers. And this example is from the ask approach. Let's say you just asked the question, fair enough, on an ask approach after offering some value and asking for something in return. Hey John, Archer Atlas Advisors. Reason for the call? I want to send you a white paper on how to get more and better clients and invite you to a training webinar on a 5-step system on how you get more clients over the next 30 days. Fair enough? When the prospect agrees. You like that, right? When, not if the prospect agrees. When he or she agrees, then the next thing you do is transition into asking some qualifying and possibly some reference questions of the prospect. Okay, great. Just so we don't waste time in the future, let me ask you. Or maybe, just so I'm sure to send you the most applicable information for your situation, let me ask you. Then you'd ask the qualifying or reference questions you'd want to know the answers to. By the way, if you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about with qualifying and reference questions, this is covered completely in episode 7 of the Atlas Cast for Building Your Business. You can check it out the same place you've got to this episode, or just go to www.theatlascast.com. Okay, so you ask a question. Let's say it's, would you say you sell mainly to business or consumers? That's just an example question. We're getting to the point right now. If the prospect gives an answer, any answer, the last thing you want to do is repeat it back to them. So if they say businesses, instead of repeating, all right, businesses, back to them, you'd want to simply pat them on the back and reward them for giving you what you want. Fantastic. Then just roll into the next question you want answered or close the call if you have all you need from them. Fantastic. Now, would you say that you're satisfied with your current client acquisition results? Or whatever it is you want to know. The important thing is that you do not ever repeat what the prospect said back to them. If they say they're happy with their current results, the last thing you want to do is repeat that back to them. So you're happy with your results. Great. Wrong. you move on to the next question or bring the call to a close. First off, this repeating is wasteful time-wise and sends a message to the prospect that you neither respect his or her time, nor yours. Second, it's completely unnecessary. All right, that's for positive answers. You never repeat. For negative answers or objections, this goes double. Do not repeat. Getting back on track here, let's talk about what to say instead of hammering down more on this point of not repeating the prospect or client. Remember, what we're covering so far is these often used fake, unreal objections. We'll get into handling real objections later on, but let's talk about how to respond to these phony objections. So there are two hard, fast rules. One being do not repeat. The other is this: do not make unreal objections real by responding to them or addressing them at all. Now, what do I mean by this? By not responding to or addressing this fake objection at all. All right, let me give you an example or two of a fake objection. Let's make this easy by giving some over-the-top examples. Let's say we gave the ask approach opening from before, and let's say the prospect gave a response of, I have no money, or I have to ask my wife. Now, these are obviously fake objections. For one, we didn't ask for any money. Two, there's no reason to ask anyone's wife about this simple offer of value. These are fake objections. But instead of repeating them back to the prospect or questioning them, or worse, actually responding to them and going a long way towards making a ridiculous and false objection real, what you want to do is this: ignore it. Blow it off and act as if it had not been said. Now look, obviously on an ask approach or any unsolicited first contact, you are an interrupter, an uninvited pest, at least initially, regardless of how much value you're offering the prospect. Their goal is to get you off the line and be done with this interruption as quickly as possible. You can't blame them for that. You can't get mad at them for doing their job and trying to blow you off. But you absolutely cannot make this unreal, poor excuse for an objection real either. So you blow it off, and you move on with your pitch and getting them closer to doing what it is you want them to do. It's a very different situation than the one we're talking about now, but I'll give you some examples from my broker days. I give a lot of examples from my broker days for one simple reason. When you spend almost a decade on the phone selling to people, making 500 plus calls a day, you hear it all. And with this repetition and practice, you get really good really fast at handling these objections. So, in situations where I was trying to open an account, getting a prospect to buy for the first time, which is how I spent most of my time as a broker, I'd be doing some actual selling. Unlike with the ask approach, where the goal is to simply qualify leads, send value, and get the prospect prepared for the next interaction. So I'd sell and I'd ask for the order. There's not a doubt in my mind you should pick up the 100 shares. Then the prospect might respond, well, I have to talk to my wife. My response would be this: you have to understand something. The company's doing $20 billion a year in revenue. This quarter alone, over $11 billion is hit in the bottom line, John. I'm telling you, this is a phenomenal situation. Definitely go with the 100 shares. You see, I just went with another bullet point to sell the prospect on why they should do what I want them to do, which is buy 100 shares. I didn't say anything about his wife. I didn't tell him that he's the one making the decision, that his wife doesn't consult him when it's time to buy the milk. I didn't say we're only talking about 100 shares, a small investment, and that he could certainly talk to his wife if we were talking larger investments. I didn't say any of that. I gave him a business reason why he should own this stock. And you know what? Most times the prospect would realize this fake excuse, if it was really a fake excuse, would not work with me at all. And he would come up with a better excuse in the future, or he would do exactly what I wanted him to do. That, or he'd hang up. And yes, that would happen often. Now there's one other thing you can do with fake excuses or fake objections instead of ignoring them or blowing them off. You could indirectly point out how absurd they are by giving your own absurd response. Let's take an example of this. Let's say the prospect says, I have to talk to my wife. John, I talked to my wife this morning. She said I could sell it to you. I think one wife's got to be enough, right? Listen to me on this one. You want to own this 100 shares. I'm not liquid right now. You have a week to pay for the trade. How do you want to title this? Individual or corporate? I have a broker. I won't let him get in my way, John. Do you want the confirmation sent to your home or to your office? Sometimes you just need to let the prospect know that you know their excuse is just that, an excuse, and a poor one at that. You're not going to let them off the hook that easy. And that if they really don't want to do what you want them to do, they will have to give you a real reason why. And then you could destroy that reason too. Or not. But you have an infinitely better chance of overcoming an objection, a real objection, if you know about it. Harping on phony objections and allowing the prospect to get away with giving you fake ones, or worse, you making the fake ones real for them, this will not get you anywhere. It certainly isn't going to get you toward your goal. And also, very importantly, it's not going to allow you to do what's in your prospect's best interest, which is doing what you want them to do. Now, obviously, you have to provide something that will be in the prospect's best interest, and I take that as a given here. I never once pitched any stock that I didn't think was in the prospect or client's best interest to buy. If I wasn't 100% confident in it, I didn't offer it to my clients or prospects. Doesn't mean I wasn't ever wrong. I was, a lot. And that's partly why I got out of that business. But my intentions were always to help the prospect or client and have them be better off than they would have been had they not bought at all. Same thing goes with everything I do now and with the clients I currently work with and their relationships with their clients. All right, so that's for these fake objections. And honestly, fake objections make up the majority of objections you will receive. Anyway, we're running out of time. Next episode, we'll cover the absolute best way to find out whether an objection is real or fake. We'll cover how to handle and overcome real objections and the easy 3-step process for creating objection-busting rebuttals. If you've paid close attention to what we've covered in this episode, you might already know it. But we'll cover it from top to bottom. I'm really looking forward to this because this is actually one of my favorite subjects and one of the most satisfying things to do. Get someone from a no to a yes. And with that, let's wrap this up with some very quick announcements. If you'd like 3 free issues of the Marketing Made Easy newsletter, which is my monthly business development, marketing, and sales growth newsletter, simply shoot me an email at archer@archeratlas.com with the subject line, Marketing Made Easy, or just MME if you're in a hurry. I'll get you this month's newsletter over to your inbox immediately, and the next 2 when they come out the next 2 months. I'm also wrapping up the insane $7 promotion on my video training course, Get More Customers and Clients Now. Get it for 93% off, only $7, by simply going to www.theatlascast.com/offer. That's OFFER. I'm taking that offer down by this weekend, the 14th, so act now. It's really a phenomenal program and a complete steal at only $7. Just go to theatlascast.com/offer. Lastly, if you'd like to get updates on this show, the Atlas Cast for Building Your Business, as well as show notes, transcripts, and your 2 free gifts, my best-selling book, Build Your Business Without Breaking the Bank, and the audio program, Going Up, How to Generate More and Better Leads Quickly and Inexpensively, just go to www.theatlascast.com and subscribe. You'll get all of this free of charge, my gift for being a loyal listener to this show. All right, that's it for this episode. Like I said, next time out, we'll continue where we left off, really digging deeply into how to tell whether an objection is real or fake, how to respond to an honest-to-God real objection, and my 3-step system for creating objection-busting rebuttals. Again, I'm really looking forward to this one. See you then.